Welcome to the Back 9 Six-Pack with Mitch and Justin. Let's roll.
Hello and welcome to episode 149 of the Back 9 Six-Pack. Tonight we have a Stampede member weekend recap, Open Championship recap, maybe a little announcement, and we'll see how that goes. Before we head over to the patio, my name is Mitch, joined as always by my esteemed colleague Justin. I think we officially came to the conclusion that today is the official worst day of the year.
Do my eyes look soulless?
Actually, truthfully, they do.
This is the worst day of the year. It's not even close. Not even remotely close.
I used to not be a fan of like Masters Monday, like the day after the Masters, because then you're like, oh, you got a year till that. That's a day that stands out as a bad one for me. Trying to think of some other ones. Like you get some of these long stretches between holidays, like, if you're not working like a government job, a lot of us have that January to May grind before you get to Memorial Day. It's probably some tough days in the winter in there. But man, the day after the member finishes, back to reality is very tough.
Yeah, so I think a couple things, right? One, we enjoy this event so much. It's like we got 364 more days until, or 663 more days until the next one. And then you just like tag in. It's like, it kind of feels like the summer's winding down. Like, my kids are out of town right now. They've been out of town for like the last 9 days. And like once they come back, they got like a week, and then it's kind of like back to school stuff starts, and I know we kind of have nice, and like I'm not even. It's just like summer's awesome. Like my wife's off, kind of alleviates some of my responsibilities in the morning and stuff. So yeah, it's like a hodgepodge of different things happening once this event's done for us. That's like, it just makes it an all around bad day.
Yeah, the point about back to school stuff is a big one. We've our 3-year-old's going to start preschool, so we've got another one getting into the schools. My wife just put together the childcare calendar for great grandma and my mom for August, and I'm like, oh my god, you're right, it's coming up fast, and it's new school for our oldest too, so he's starting earlier now, which I think will be a good thing. But either way, it's we've turned that corner. I'm with you, where it starts to feel like the long summer days are fleeting at this point.
Oh, and then you just tack on to like, okay, we just got done. I played in a money game on Friday. We played 27 holes on Saturday, 18 holes on Sunday, and it's just and good Lord knows how many Miller Lights later. It's just, you wake up this morning and you're like, my body hurts, my fingers hurt, like my ego hurts. Like, it's an all around bad situation, especially if you don't win, right? So, which you haven't done in 4 years, and we haven't done in 6 years at this point. Not a spoiler alert, I guess, but it's just a tough day to get through.
Yeah, I was gonna say, spoiler alert, if you can't tell by the low energy that's coming across this microphone right now, we did not win this weekend, but we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, thank you all for listening. Please subscribe, rate, review the show. Follow us on social media at Back9 Sixpack. We do have some fan mail tonight. It's going to help us talk a little Open Championship, so we'll get to that in a bit. If you want to leave us one, that link is always down in the show description. Before we get into all that, quick little announcement for everybody listening. We're not going away per se. This is not a goodbye. I will start by saying that. But, I'll speak for myself first and then you can chime in. But last year, life's gotten a little tougher, a little harder, a little busier. And we're not, we're going to step back from the weekly grind of the pod, essentially is how I should put it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it really just boils down to me and you are at very different stages of life. Like, my now stage of life is like, I'm going to have a daughter playing golf matches here soon, like within the month, right? So it's like, I want to be able to go see those, and if she has one on a Monday, I'd be like, like rushing home and trying to do all this. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. You, especially on your end, like you do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So, yeah, I think that's mostly to do with it is like we're at different stages in life, but it's like busy stages of life. And the weekly thing is like, that's where we kind of sat down. We're like, look, I don't think we want to give it up completely. And I definitely don't want to give it up completely, but
No.
definitely the weekly grind is like, feels almost impossible after this week. You know what I mean? Like looking into school and, school sports for me now, it's kind of, we're like, we probably need to figure out what we're going to do. So,
yeah. And it's, we've been doing this for 3 years, like basically 3.5 years at this point.
yeah.
And the show has changed a lot over that time.
Yeah,
Our lives have changed. Like it just, for us, like what we have decided and we've kind of learned over the years is like, we just like talking kind of broadly about stuff, whether it's golf, whether it's football, whether it's what's going on in our lives, whatever. We don't have like a weekly anchor like we did when we first started. We were really serious on tracking like the PGA Tour and like Live was just kind of getting up and running. So we had like a lot of stuff to talk about from a week to week perspective. And we just kind of realized over time it's not our lane. We're not that podcast. So, we always said we never wanted this to be like a strain on anything like personal lives or otherwise. And we feel like we can fire this thing up at any point in time we feel like we want to and have a good show, right? So like trying to force it every week just doesn't make sense at this point. So
and I think I think this is one of the lanes that we're really going to stick into, like with not doing a weekly grind, is like we really enjoyed doing the travel stuff, right? Like when we did our show in Indiana, when I did a drastic recap of our Scotland trip, like that stuff for us felt really, really fun. For the record, just so everybody knows, those were by far our most listened to shows. I don't know how people were finding it, but so there's definitely some interest in that stuff. Obviously, I think there's people interested in like just, club golf and stuff like that we really cover on here. So we don't want to stop, but we've realized like the covering the PGA Tour thing, like week to week is like, one, it's just an absolute grind. And then two, it's like, I'll be honest, golf's gotten a little boring. Like Live's going away. Like it's very vanilla right now, right? Like just not a lot going on. So
and I think too, the things that have always I have a lot more to say after I say this, but Turkey Open is a prime example. We talk about the Stampede is our favorite week of the year. Turkey Open is pure magic for us. We love that event. We love putting that on. To talk about most downloaded episodes. Those episodes every year are our top 2 or 3 downloaded episodes and listened to. And we tried to do this thing, get a second event going this year. Stuff happens. We didn't get to do it, but not doing a weekly show. We've got a few extra hours a week where maybe we can explore doing hosting a couple other events and things that like we want to spend time doing. So that's part of it too. The other thing I wanted to say, there's a lot of people, and I realized it this weekend, that, we've not met that listen to this weekly. Like, Hinkle's a great example. Pat's a great example. Those are guys, they told us all the time, like, you're like my Tuesday morning commute, like every week. Super appreciate those guys. I'm glad we could fill that time for you. But then at the Stampede this weekend, at least on 3 occasions, somebody came up to me and told me they were a listener and they love it and they've been around for a while. Yeah. One guy, I'm in the lodge getting a beer between matches, and I was talking to somebody else and, just got quiet. And then all of a sudden the guy next to me is like, "Hey, are you Mitch?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I thought your voice sounded familiar. I've been listening to you guys for years now."
Yeah.
That's like the magic of it, where it's like, that's the part where I feel obligation, right? Is where it's like, we've got, Tyler in Tampa, Trevor, Nick, Gunth, all of our like kind of like that group of people, like they all listen too. So it's like, I kind of feel like the thing that's made me stick around for so long is just like those relationships and those people, Yeah,
100%. And I've had many instances over time where it's like not even members at our club, but someone I might kind of know, and they're like, they'll bring something that we talked up on them. I'm like, "Oh, you listen." Like, I don't know. It's just like, you just don't expect it, right? Like, it's never gotten gigantic, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and say we've had 10,000 listeners every episode. We don't. But it's like, it's kind of crazy when it's like, you know, someone you barely know, or maybe they heard about it from someone at our club or something like that, that says like, yeah, I heard you guys talking about this week. It's like, oh, you're like, not that I'm shocked that, you know, but it's kind of, it's cool to have those experiences that it's like, didn't even know you listened, but awesome. Thank you. Like, that's really, really cool. So
yeah, we've done almost 150 episodes. We have almost 10,000 downloads. Pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I guess the last little anecdote on this too is like something else that happened this weekend. I'd never played with John Sung before, so shout out to him. He's a great guy. I had a match against him and Scott Rayberg, and Scott was trying to describe to John who I was, and he referred to me as the other guy on Justin's podcast. So,
and by the way, that's if I know Scott pretty well at this point, totally makes sense. Probably fucking doing it to fuck with you a little bit. Like, not gonna lie.
Oh, absolutely gamesmanship on his part. And you know what? I took that personally, and I had to beat him 6-3. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that's funny. And you know, it's funny. Like I remember when we first started having discussions about, you know, kind of taking a step back from like the weekly grind. It's like the stuff that has changed over time. Like, yeah, like you said, we're well past 3.5 years doing this. Like, you've had 2 kids since we started this, right? Like, like that alone. And it's like, dude, I'm about to have like my daughter when we started this was like in 2nd grade or 3rd grade, and like she's gonna be a middle schooler this year. So
yeah,
like it's just kind of crazy to think about. You know, it's there's a lot that's changed, but kind of going back to the Turkey Open, and you know, that was kind of like one of the things we are still doing it. Like, that is like our Super Bowl. We enjoy doing that. It's a lot of work, but we enjoy putting it together. You know, that's another thing where it's like, I've had people message me from like Indiana, Kentucky, and they're like, hey, I've heard about your event through so-and-so. And like, that is cool for us. Like, you know, we hope that maybe there's more people that are not members at our club that play an event. So that is definitely continuing. So no worries there. Obviously, as we kind of take a step back from the grind, like day to day, week to week stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, you know, we don't have any real plans, but we've got our second member coming up in a couple weeks. Our member guest is shortly after that. So there's some things coming up that will definitely probably cause us to jump on the microphone. So I don't think you'll go too long without us, but just so you guys aren't asking us every week, because we do get people that ask why the podcast didn't come out. You've heard it here first.
Yep, exactly.
So, all right. And with that, I think we can go ahead and get into our 2026 Stampede recap. Like we said off the top, we didn't win. Not only did we not win, we did not win our flights either. And we're going to kind of deep dive that a little bit for each of us. But first, shout out to Derek and Connor, our buddies. Kept it in the chat. They've won 2 out of the last 3 now.
Yeah.
Huge for them. A really cool moment. You know, Connor, they get down to the finals. It's against his dad.
Yeah.
Little father-son action was really cool to see out there. There were definitely some tears in the crowd and out on the green after the fact.
Yeah. Really cool moment. Connor's dad, I know him. He lives up the street from me. His partner Ed used to live in our neighborhood, so I knew Ed from our neighborhood too, and like I knew everybody playing in it, so it was really hard to pick sides. I did end up betting on a side. I'm not going to say who I bet on, but it was just cool to like, man, I'm like, I know all these people, like, you know, because there are times where you like someone gets in a shootout, and I know a lot of people at our club, and you're like, I don't really know this guy, you know what I mean? So it was cool to have kind of like we kind of knew everybody pretty well that was playing in the finals. So
do we want to just chat shootout real quick since new format before we get into our stuff?
Yeah. I think that's a good place to start, because as we went into our final match, we kind of knew like unless something crazy happens, we're not going to be in the finals. And I kept telling everybody, I'm like, I want blood to flow on the first hole. I think we kind of got it, dude. It got messy in old shot. It did. And it should be hard, right? Like, it shouldn't be one person doing it all. It's a partnership, and that's why I love alt shot in this format. It's like, get it, like, you don't want to do alt shot in the matches. So, like, it comes down to it, like, this is why you have a partner. Everybody's got to put something into it. And so that's why I thoroughly enjoyed this shootout as far as, like, the actual format and stuff like that.
God, dude, now that you just said that, it'd be kind of sick if they did alt shot in the actual matches.
Dude, it would take us 5 hours to play our matches. That would be the only problem with it.
Yeah, I just, something we can talk about more as we go on, but like I do think that would drastically impact how the teams are formed, how the flights are formed.
100%.
Yeah, yes. I think that could eliminate some of our perceived woes as we talk a little bit more about this. But yeah, I thought it was great. Great format. Maybe it was just me. I was having more trouble like kind of tracking what was happening from an outsider watching perspective than I would have with best ball for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, because it is hard because I guess it's just because like you don't know who some of the partners are, right?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
So it's like, well, I saw this guy hit, and like, who's his partner, right? Like, and so if you're not really paying attention, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense that they're hitting 5 because I saw that guy. It's like, so it is a little harder to track in that sense. But as far as the format, I'll tell you, as someone that was a big advocate for getting alt shot, kind of, and kind of advocating for the change. Best case scenario happened this year. All the high handicappers were completely complaining about it, and none of the low handicappers made it past the second hole. So
true.
And what I mean by low handicappers, like top 3 flights, right? No one of the top 3 flights made it past the second hole. And I think that was best only because if the final third hole was like 3 low handicappers and like 2 high handicappers, like people would have lost their shit about the new format. So very happy that kind of how it played out. I'm pretty happy about it just because it's like if there were too many low handicappers that like made it to the second to last hole, I think people would have really revolted against the format. So
yeah, I mean, definitely right about that. I think, in the past it was, we'd go from 12 to 7 to 4 to 2 teams over the 4 holes or whatever. This year we had an extra flight compared to normal. So we had 13 total teams start. Only 2 got knocked out on the first hole. So we went to the next hole with 11 because we got away with the chip offs. And then I think it got cut to
7.
Oh, there were still 7 left.
There were 7 teams on the third hole. Yeah.
And shockingly, only 2 advanced. That's wild.
Like with no tie. I was shocked. But you get to that third hole, right? And everybody kind of knows what's on the line.
Nobody hit the green. So they definitely knew.
No one hit the green. And then just some, and this is where alt shot's fun, right? You get up there, no one hits the green. There is a ball from a second shot that is like, 2 feet off the green and pretty good spot, right? And this is where all shots fun because things can just turn on a dime, right?
Yeah.
You start, especially if you're the closest to the hole, you start seeing people hit shots up there and you're like, all right, that guy's probably going to make that putt. That guy's going to be okay. Like now all of a sudden it's like, I really just got to like kind of hit a good putt and leave my partner close. And then like, you just get nerves and you overhit it or you underhit it. And it's like, so the team that was in the best position after their second shot actually ended up not making it out of the hole because, again, alt shot, things can turn on a dime, right? For good or bad, pretty quickly. So,
yeah. And then I think last thing on the shootout probably is I think this is the first year that I can remember where the carts around the greens actually got involved a little bit.
What? So this was my 7th Stampede I've played in. This is what, your 5th or 4th or something like 5th, probably?
6th.
Okay. Never had a cart be involved. Like we parked in the same spots every year. Never had a cart involved. And this year we had 2 carts involved. Pretty drastically, I might say.
Yeah, I mean, we had one that returned a ball closer to the hole. Didn't
Almost
get on the green, but
the fringe.
Yeah, but definitely made the shot a lot easier, and that was, to the benefit of Connor and Derek on that one. And then on the
And then
third hole,
mind you, on that same hole, the person before they hit didn't hit my cart. It somehow like missed the front bumper and like rolled under. So they had a
true.
really difficult chip rather than like say it hit my front bumper and maybe bounced it back on to like the lower hill rough slash fringe where you could putt it from, right,
Sure.
instead of the chipping.
Yeah, so that was a big one, and then possibly an even bigger one. Really unfortunate. Some past champions had one hit off of a cart that went into the weeds. They ended up having to take an unplayable on the third hole. So yeah, that, like I said, I hadn't seen any of that happen, so that was kind of wild. I don't think people were really in different spots than normal. It was just some bad luck, I guess.
Yeah, and I just I was trying to remember, like, did a cart just like at all get hit? I'm like, I don't ever remember even a cart getting hit. So to have 2 in 1 year where it was like, not to say it drastically changed the outcome, but it definitely like played a role in like possibly what happened. Like, who knows what happens if their cart doesn't bounce and hit? Maybe they get up and down and we have 3 teams in the final hole, right? Like, there's a lot that could change there. Or that ball hits the roof and bounces onto the grid. Like, you just don't know. It's like, it's so, but it's like, we've been parking in the same spots and has never happened. So it's like, it's definitely an outlier situation for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I overall thought Alt Shot was cool. Looking forward to, potentially playing in it next year. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into this. You and Ryan, we'll start with you guys. 3-2 in your matches this year. You ended up second in the flight, so you do get a little something back for that at least. That pushed your overall match record to 21-8-4, and you have only advanced twice out of the 7 years, which still shocks me with that match record. But the points are the points, I guess, is where that goes. Just kind of break down how the weekend went for you.
So yeah, first thing on that, it's like, this year we score the most points we've scored since we won. Even the year we made it out, like, I think it was like the 2 years after we, won, we made it out of our flight, and we didn't even score as many points as we scored this weekend. So it's weird how, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, it's not even necessarily how like you play. It's like, how does someone else play against someone else, right? Because if someone just gets dusted a couple times, and it's like, that really changes the point distribution within the flight. It's like, where you might only need 25.5, now you might need 27. So it's definitely cool how that, or different how that shakes out pretty much on a year-to-year basis. But our first flight was against Kyle and Eddie. Shout out to them. They played well. We just didn't have our best stuff. Like, it just was never, we kind of lost a hole that we shouldn't have lost. Ryan was in a good spot and then ended up making bogey. And then, but they just played well, and they just kind of kept the pressure on. And like, you keep the pressure on, it kind of, just puts you in spots where it's like, now, like, you have to hit a shot, right? Instead of like, all right, let me go, just go play golf. Now you feel like you have to hit shots, and they did a really good job of that. And they really did a good job of that pretty much the entire day, because they had a really, really good first day. But, we lose our first match 6-3, obviously not the start you want. But, in our next match, we go out and we play well. Our opponents didn't play particularly well and took advantage of the situation. Probably should have had 8. We got 7.5. Ryan missed a little short one to get 8 points, but 7.5 after coming off a 3, you kind of feel out of it at 3, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, we're like pretty much right back in it. We made up points on pretty much everybody, including the team we just lost to. So our third match against our guys, Wes and Joe, and dude, like, what a match. Like, it went from like the beginning, say first 4 holes where we're like, dude, if we don't turn this around, like, we're going to get dusted again. Like, and then all of a sudden we win a couple holes, and it's like, all right, we're right back in this. We go into the last 2 holes, all pretty much all knotted up. And we tie with birdies on the second to last hole, and Ryan makes an incredible putt on the last hole from about 25 feet to win the match. Like, and I'm telling you, like an hour and a half earlier, I'm like, we weren't even thinking about winning. We were just thinking about getting to a tie at the least, like, or just lose 5-4, right? Like that's where our heads were at, not even an hour and a half earlier. And for him to sink a putt to win the match, like it was big because it kind of kept us in it. We did lose some ground, but it was like, all right, we're not out of it, completely out of it going into the second day. Our fourth match, sometimes in our flight, like you just run into a guy that plays good golf, right? Like, and you could be playing good and they just might be playing better. And that's kind of what happened with us. We played Tom and Mark, and, Tom got off to a hot start. And again, you get in these matches and you get down early, it makes it really hard to win after that, right? And to their credit, it was just they were playing really good golf, right? They birdied the first 3 holes. Thank God on the third hole, Ryan made a bomb because we would have lost that one too. We would have lost our first 3 holes. So we scraped and clawed, and I had a stretch. I didn't start out well, but I birdied 3 holes in a row in that match. 1 was to win a hole, 2 were to tie, and we scratched out 3.5 points. But pretty much at that point, when we got off to the start, we didn't play well in the beginning, but then they played really well. Pretty much going into our fourth hole, we were like, I think our tournament's about over, right? Like, unless something drastic changes in this match and we can split it somehow or even win, our tournament's pretty much over at that point. And that was, we ended up losing 5.5, 3.5. We get in our next match, and it's funny, that fourth match, like probably 2 par, best ball, the best match we played all weekend. I think we were like 3 under, but I think they shot like 5 or 6 under, and it's like, that's crap happens, right?
Yeah.
But our fifth match, we went out, kind of a common theme. I didn't get off to a great start in the match, then kind of found some footing in the middle, and we ended up winning 7 points in our last match. Very, very much a roller coaster weekend for us. Other than the 2 late matches on Saturday, we never won 2 matches in a row. Which is that makes it drastic. It's one thing to like win 2 or 3 and then lose 1, and then win your last one, but when you're kind of rotating back and forth, and our third match being such a grind that it was like we were exhausted, and and we didn't play particularly well over the entire weekend. I would say we probably played 25 good holes out of the 45, right? Like we had 20 rough holes in there, thrown kind of scattered throughout the matches. So, other than the 2 we kind of blew out, but like the other 3, we had some rough stretches in those 3 matches. So,
yeah. What I know you were telling me on Saturday where I think you were saying, driver's usually the best club in your bag, and it sounded like you had a few struggles with that. And
yeah,
so, like, what was it? Was driver the struggle, or was it kind of like all through the bag?
It's funny is like it was, and then it wasn't, right? Like, but here's what was happening is like I didn't have a right miss going. Like it was all left misses, which at that point, it's funny. Like on Sunday, I started having the right miss, and I'm like, and I looked at Ryan, I'm like, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. I know what to do when that ball is going right. Like when I start getting stuff going left, I'm like, dude, it could be a myriad of issues in my swing right now. But it's like I kind of found it in matches where it's like, all right, but for the most part, I would say it was well below average on how I hit the tee ball. And then my putting really until about our 6th hole on our first match on Sunday, I just decided I'm putting so bad. I think I'm worrying too much about is my line lined up correctly. I'm like, I'm just going to put the ball down where I can't see anything on the ball. I'm going to pick a spot on the green, a foot in front of my ball, and just try to hit it over that spot. And then next thing I know, like I do it on the 6th hole in our first match on Sunday. It's like drained about a 20-footer. Got on the next hole, drained about a 15-footer. And I made a decent run at an eagle putt on the next hole. But even in our second match on Sunday, like probably made 2 or 3 putts over 15 feet, made made a couple of those like 6-7 footers that I was not making earlier in the weekend. And it was just kind of one of those things. I just kind of was like, I think I was just focusing so much on like my line lined up correctly, and I was trying to be too perfect other than just like put a ball down, pick a spot, and hit the putt, right?
Yeah.
But the putter for most of the weekend was not good for me either. So that was a struggle. Irons were not bad. I mean, I hit some pretty good iron shots. Like I hit one yesterday, had 210 into the par 5/8 at our course, and pin was like 8 paces on. I probably hit it 4 paces on, and like in a pretty good spot to make an eagle. And I had like a little bit of a crosswind, so I hit some really good iron shots this weekend. But the driver and putter were well below average for sure.
Yeah. I can echo a lot of what you just said for my own game this weekend. I'll ask you one question at the end, but we can get into my stuff a little bit. Dude, I wish I would have adopted maybe what you did with the spot putting or something at some point, because I don't know if it was the speed of the greens, what it was, but like my short putting was bad. Like it was, I can list off at least 6, putts inside of about 5 feet that I missed that like were either to win or half a hole. And if I'm not making those, then I'm definitely in trouble. That's kind of like where I can make bones in the game, is on the greens on people. We were 3-1-1. We wound up 3rd place in our flight. We were a point back of the winners and a half point back of 2nd place. And it was really a 3-team battle the whole weekend. Like that was, we left Saturday. The 3 of us were all within a half point of one another. And then, just to kind of go match by match. Sorry, let me back up. We're 15, 6, and 7 overall now. So pretty strong record. We have a lot of ties, though. I'd say that's a lot of ties.
You guys do have a lot of ties,
compared to wins. But yeah, so we get Saturday. I'll tell you, the white course, it was like I had an out of body experience both times we played the white course. I think I shot a combined 90 on our 2 matches there. And then the other 3 times we played red once and blue twice. I was probably, I don't know, like 10 over combined. Like I played really well outside of the white course.
Yeah, I remember you came out to me like, I'm done with the white course.
I just like, I don't need to go over there. Like I need to get on a rotation where take me down some flights where they put me on red twice and blue twice. I don't need the 2 white experiences at this point. But yeah, so that we started off on the white course. We're playing Dave and Galen. I played with Dave enough times to kind of know what to expect. Never even met Galen, had no idea, but he was the highest handicap player in our flight. So, and Dave was the lowest. And honestly, Galen was the one that beat us. Like outside of ourselves, it was the primary suspects were us and then Galen in terms of why we lost. So we didn't get off the bus. We lost that match 5.5, 3.5. The first hole, I hit the green and 3-putt, lose the hole, and kind of just like we never got it really back on track from that point on. Kind of grinded it out a little bit, but it's tough in our flight when you're playing somebody that's getting 3 and 4 more pops than you are to really like do some damage, because we just don't make a lot of birdies, right? Like that's when it's like you guys. I mean, I know it's tough for you because you're giving shots back, but like you can expect to make birdies. We need to grind out pars and have guys make a bogey, similar to how we would play, right? I think I made 3 birdies in 45 holes as an example. So a lot of net birdie lost holes in that match, like not much you can do. And I think, when they talk about in match play too, like how you have to expect your opponent to make the putt, I lived the example of that this weekend. There's a lot of times where it was like we felt like we had an advantage in the hole, and then somebody steps up and makes a 15-footer, a 12-footer or whatever. Yeah. And next thing you know, you've got a 4-footer with some more pressure on it, and then you miss that, right? And then you end up losing the hole, so to speak. So there was a lot of that happening in our matches. But yeah, we lose that first match, 3.5, 5.5. come back out, play Alex and Clark, who ended up winning our flight. We beat them 6-3. So we're like, same as you. We're like, okay. We're back in this now. And then go out in the afternoon, and we get 5.5, 3.5 facing Jake and Tom, father-son team. But that was one that was like, we played them on red, and we were like, damn, if we could have got them on blue or even white, even though as much as I struggle with white, I think it could have been a bigger win. The red course, it's the easiest side, it's the shortest side. That's the one where Tom, the dad of the group, he can hang around a little bit more.
Yep.
And so he's able to scratch out some pars that maybe he wouldn't have been sniffing on a little bit of a longer hole, or so, or something like that. So we end up Saturday, we're a half point back. Like I said, we had already beaten the one of the teams in front of us. We'd lost to the other team in front of us, but we felt pretty good going into Sunday. And then flip forward to Sunday morning, we get our boys, Tommy Turndogs and 5-4. Awesome to play with those guys. It was a bit of a pillow fight, to be honest. Same thing. Well, sort of the same thing. We started on the same hole in white that day. 3, my ace hole. Day before I hit the green and 3-putted, lost the hole. I get up there and I kind of tug it left. And I'm just like begging it not to hit path. Like, please be nice. Please be nice. Hits path. But what it does, it hits the right side of the cart path and shoots back onto the green.
Are you serious?
Then I'm right in front of Pat. So I'm like, I get a good read off Pat. I got a lucky break here. All I got to do, 2-putt or whatever, half the hole, or maybe we win it or whatever. No, Pat makes a really good 2-putt. I don't take advantage of the good break. I 3-putt again to start that match, and we're down. So the match we lost the first hole. In this match we ended up we lost the first hole, and the other 3 matches we won the first hole. So I think that's a big thing, of course, in match 100%. Play.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tom and Pat, great to play with those guys. I need to do it more often. I didn't play great. I played better than I did in the first match on white, though. And, Tom, shout out to Tom. Same thing I just described to you, where like you're expecting maybe somebody doesn't make the putt, and then all of a sudden you have an important par putt coming up. Tom did it to us twice. On the par 3 fifth, he made a really nice, I kind of stubbed his, I can't remember if he chipped or putted it, but he left it pretty well short of the hole, and then ended up banging one home right in front of me. And then I flipped out to tie him, so that we lost that. And then on 7, Gunth and I both have like essentially tap in par putts, and Tom had left his chip or his putt short again, and he makes like a 15 to 20 footer for par to half that too. So very easy for us throughout this weekend to find that point we needed, because we get one more point, we have the tiebreaker on Alex and Clark, and we're in the shootout. So like that's what the most frustrating thing with the short putts was that. But yeah, we ended up winning the last 2 holes of that match to half it. And it was just funny because we were just like, damn, like we just looked at each other and we were like, this was the worst thing that could have happened for either of us in this match. Because like we're like, we needed points to catch up and stay ahead or whatever. They needed points to try to get wild card berth because they weren't going to do it in the flight. And it was just like, we both just kind of felt bad. We're like, man, I wish it would have just like went a different way for one of us to, have a chance. But still, we get out of that. We're only a 1.5 back. We got Scott and John in the afternoon. Go out there, start strong. I think we won 3 of the first 4 holes, and we're feeling pretty good. Scott makes a really good. He actually had a chance to win the hole with a birdie. He hits it tight on 9 on blue, and just happened to miss the putt, so we halved it. And then on 1, another situation where like, all right, we're good. We've got Gunth and I are both on the green. Scott blew his second shot over by the maintenance building. So he was just kind of out of the hole. John is long in the pin to the back pin. He's short-sided, and all he can do is hit it to about 15 to 20 feet, whatever. He ends up making that putt. And so our 2 putts, we had to try to make a long birdie putt, didn't get it done. So easy to scrounge up the points you need. Couldn't get them. We ended up winning that match 6-3. We ended up, like I said, a point back in the flight. So long-winded way of saying it was another one that, like, last year was a little different. Last year, we were down and we were facing the team we had to pass, got up early on him and let him back in and kind of let him off the hook. So that felt a little different, disappointing that way. This year, it honestly felt like for as little golf as Gunth played, he played amazing. I got to give him his flowers. He played incredibly well. I think he might have been even, maybe even under on the par fives for the weekend. He hit 4-wood on almost every par five, kept it in place. He's getting pops on those holes. He took advantage of that, played those holes awesome. We still ham and egged it. There were a lot of holes where it's like, sorry, buddy, this is your hole kind of thing. But we felt like we played good golf. We scored 25.5 points and didn't win the flight. Usually you get around that number, you've got a really good chance.
Yep.
But yeah, it just was a different type of disappointment this year where it felt like we had low expectations because of the lack of golf played by him, especially on that front. And it was just, it really came down to that first match or just a hole or two here or there that like made the difference. So yeah, that's kind of how our Stampede weekend went.
Yeah, I do want to shout out a couple things. One, Ryan last year did not play his pop. He did not have a single par on a pop hole last year.
Yeah,
he only had like 5 of them in 5 matches, but this year I think he had like 7 pop holes in 5 matches, and other than one, I think he parred every single one of them. So I'm like, I gotta give him his flowers. Last year, I gave him a lot of crap for not playing the pop hole as well. He played them pretty damn well. Actually, I think he birdied 2 of them. Or hit them. He hit them close enough to where it was like they were conceded. So it was like, so he birdied both or 2 of them. So he did play those a lot better. And I do have to give a shout out to Tom and Mark, who we played in our 4th match. Like, that is the only match I've ever played in my entire life. After like the first couple holes, every 30-footer they walked up to the rest of the time, like I just assumed that they were going to make it. Like it was like not a good place to play a match from. Like, shout out to them, dude. Like, and I've played enough golf with them, and we've had matches against them. Like I know both of them are really good putters, but it was like, dude, that is like a hell of a grind to go out and just like, the guys you're playing's got a 25-footer and you're like walking up to the green where you have a 25 or 30-footer. Like, I think I have to make this. Like, that is a weird spot to play a match from, for sure. And so shout out to those guys. I mean, that is a big part of these matches, man. Like, if you're putting well, like, you put a lot of pressure on people because you make one early on and it's like, shit, he might do this again in 8 more holes, right? So it puts a lot of pressure on them. They start hitting bad putts because they think they got to make stuff. So that is a big part of playing well in these matches is also putting. And like you said, for you guys, it's like, man, you just got to get off to a good start, right? And even if that's having a couple holes, right? Like, kind of get in the flow of things. Like, you just can't lose early holes because you just kind of get yourself behind the 8 ball, right? And it's and you just feel like everything's a comeback from then on, right? So, I don't think there's many times where we've lost like the first hole and like ended up having or winning. Like, we had one this year, but usually you get behind and it's like you're going to be lucky to have it,
Yeah, and I think similar to what you described earlier with the putting was like, I don't think I putted bad. I was way in my head about, like you said, about the reads and about the, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't like I was like mashing putts by or like leaving them wildly short. I was just so in my head about like getting this line perfect, getting, and doing all that part that it's like I just forgot to just like, hey, you're a good putter, just go hit the putts.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, me and Ryan are a big proponent of like, don't change what you do when you play your regular golf. And like when we're playing regular golf, like I don't walk up and read a putt for him. Like, now were times this weekend where he's like, I'm not seeing this well. And then I give him a read, but like, I'd say 99% of the time, it's like, you do you, I'll do me, like, unless I ask for advice, like, let me be, kind of thing. Like, so, and that's and I feel like that is the best route because if you get too far off of like what you normally do, then it does become that, right? Like you're trying to be too perfect. You're you worry more about the line than the speed. And next thing you know, you're hitting it 3 feet short or 4 feet by. And it's, I think it's, I'm a big believer in just doing what you normally do, unless, like, obviously now you do have like a safety net of a partner to ask, but I think it goes better if you just like do exactly what you normally do, right? And go out and read your own putts, and unless you absolutely need help, then it is what it is. But that's usually what we do. But I was struggling so much, I started asking him for a lot of help on putts. I'm like, can you watch this stroke? Like, I don't even need you to read the putt. Like, here's what I'm thinking. Don't say anything. Here's what I'm thinking it does. And just watch me stroke the ball. And, that was really kind of what we were going through with me and the putter this weekend. It was not a fun place to play golf from.
Yeah. Last two things I'll say is, it's one positive, one negative. I think we did a much better job this year of like managing the game, like managing our game a little bit, where in the past, I think we've caught ourselves getting into like the scramble mindset where it's like, oh, he's fine. I'm going to take this riskier shot, or I'm going to pull driver instead of something else or whatever. Instead of just like trying to keep both of us in the hole for as long as possible. And so like I said, Gunth hit 4-wood almost every par 5. Like that was a strategic win for us for sure. There's a lot of times where like, I did a little more reacting to like, what our opponents are doing sometimes too, where it's like, okay, they had the tee. So like we saw what they did. And then it's like, specifically like on hole 4 on red, we only played it once, but like we had gone into that thinking like, okay, I'm going to hit driver because I can cut the corner right there. I've got the shape for it, the shot shape for it, all that. Well, that hole we were playing the Garrigas and they both, were in a little bit of trouble off the tee. I went and got a 6-iron, put it out in the fairway, made par. We won the hole. Like we did a lot more, like a better job, just kind of like talking through the scenarios and like being smarter about things. On the negative side, I have absolutely have to learn how to flight a pitching wedge. I was in so many like in between wedge shots this week where it was like, okay, gap that I either have to mega nuke or I have to try to knock down this pitching wedge. And I don't think I hit a single one of them how I wanted to. So like that's sort of the next evolution for me is like, I got to figure out how to hit a 135-yard pitching wedge, right?
Yeah.
Like I need to have that shot in the bag because it costs us several times where it's like what should be an easy green and reg turns into, okay, now I'm scrambling and I'm not in a good spot because I'm, either short or long of wherever I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, if I had to pick I think some positives for us, like obviously we didn't play how we wanted to. I would say this is the worst we played, and probably this might be the worst, like how we felt afterwards, how we played in a long time. Like,
but you got the most points in a while.
And we got the most points. It's what's crazy is we were top 10 in total points for the entire tournament. Typically doesn't happen if you don't win your flight. That's not a normal thing. We were top 8 in Sunday points. Like even losing a match, we were top 8 in Sunday points. So it's like a lot of positives there. The fact that like we found a way to just get points when we weren't playing well, like definitely some icy moments out there between me and my partner. But it all kind of stems like we both weren't playing well, right? So it's like he's mad at how he's playing. I'm mad at he's mad at how I'm playing, and like there's certain things he's doing where I'm like, it's like damn, So that was mostly because we weren't playing well, specifically me, because his biggest complaint is like, when I'm not playing well, is like, you got to remember, like, you are the A player. Like, if anybody's going to get left on an island, it should be you. So you continually, it's kind of one of those things like you're playing a dangerous game, right? Like, I keep leaving him on the island, whether I'm like going to bogey or something like that. And it's like, yeah, he might get away with it a couple times, but like, there's going to be a moment where it's like, it don't work, right? Like, and you're going to lose 1 or 2 holes in a row. So, and I do get that. And I'm really am trying to be better at it. And I actually, in one of our matches, I like kind of like trying to bridge the gap between the two of us and how he felt. I hit like shorter clubs off of 2 of the holes after I hit a driver off 1 hole that I shouldn't have. Well, I should have. I just hit a really bad shot. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to appease him. I'm going to hit these shorter clubs off this tee box, show him that I'm willing to learn, right? And it did make him feel better. He's like, yeah, you shouldn't hit driver here. Like, and I was like, well, that's why I did it. I just wanted you to feel like you were being heard, right? Like, and it's funny, like the 2 holes I did it on, we won. So it was like, he might have a point there. But for me, I'm such like my game, I'm just a risk taker, right? And 8 times out of 10, it pays off. It's just like those 2 times where it doesn't. And like someone that's not a risk taker, just it can't comprehend it, right? Like, and Ryan's not really a risk taker and on the golf course. So I can understand the learning curve or how he's kind of seeing it. Like, why are you doing this? It's like, well, because 8 times out of 10, I'm going to get away with this, right? Like, it's just like the 1 or 2 times I don't, it looks really, really bad, right? So
yeah. Well, I mean, I think you just described kind of like what most golfers' mentality is too. Is like, you know, I am not allowing myself enough, or I'm not giving myself enough credit for the holes I won or the holes that I saved for us, or like I'm inherently focused on the ones that I lost, or things like that where, and Gunt's really great about that. He's, he always talks about, he's got the memory of a goldfish, and he repeatedly, at least 3 times he told me to get out of my own head. He's like, dude, you just think too much. Like, I just need you. He's like, you don't give yourself enough credit for being an athlete, and especially within the game of golf. It's like, you got to quit thinking about it and just do it. And those are good reminders and things that I need to take away is, I know we've got 360 whatever days till the next one, but things that I need to remember for next time, or even in just, future matches and tournaments that we play in the rest of the year. So,
Yep.
All right. Last thing on the Stampede, we had this in the agenda from last year. 1 word to describe your 2026 Stampede.
I'm not an English major, but, well, I'll go with this: volatile.
Yeah.
Like hole to hole volatility was, I got done on Saturday. I'm not usually this worn out. I'm like worn out, like mentally worn out. Volatility is definitely the word I would use for us this year.
Yeah. I knew I was going to ask this question, and I still couldn't really land on a good word. I mean, the obvious ones are like frustrating and disappointing because, it felt like we were close and just a few things let us down. Volatility is a good one. I'm trying to think of a better word than one of those 2 I just said. Honestly, I'm going to go with grind, because similar to you, especially Saturday, I was just tired. Like, I remember telling you that after the fact. I was like, dude, everything was a fight. Like, I was fighting against our competitors, I was fighting the course, fighting my swing. Like, I don't think I've spent as much time in recent memory just like literally swing to swing was like a battle. It was like, there was times where I looked down at like my divot and I'm like, how did the ball go there with that? My divot's just like directly left in the trees and the ball is, on the green or whatever. Like, there was so much, late hand action in my swing. Like, I felt like I was like Scottie Scheffler out there. I'm just like flipping the hands over here. I'm holding them off this way over there. Like, I was just fighting it, man, the whole weekend. And it, like I said, I played pretty decent golf aside from the white course and a few swings here and there, but that's going to happen at my handicap index. So yeah, I think grind is, it was a tiring weekend of golf
for sure. Yep. I agree.
All right. We didn't get to watch much of this, but there are, for the first time in a while, I feel like we've got a golf tournament where you didn't really need to watch to kind of know what was going on.
Yeah.
And the 2026 Open, I think, will be remembered kind of more for like the stuff around the event and some things that happened more than, the actual golf on the course, which is kind of fun. I feel like we haven't had like a strong talking point tournament for a while.
No.
So, not to bury the lead or anything, Ryan Fox is the champion golfer of the year, had a phenomenal Saturday round, an incredible finish. He birdied 4 of his last 6 holes, including the last one. He made a 12-footer stepped up and hit it like it was like a 2-footer, and just buried it to win by 1 over Cam Young, who had a great Sunday shooting 64. Sam Burns was at that 10 under number after Saturday, and shot 2 over. I think he birdied the second or third hole and didn't make another birdie the rest of the round yesterday. So yeah, Cam Young posted that 9 under clubhouse lead at 64. Foxy makes the winner on 18. That was kind of the birdies and bogeys of it and the result. But a couple situations we got to talk about. Of course, the Bryson situation. The Stampede was a buzz with Bryson talk on Saturday.
Oh gosh, it was all anybody was talking about.
Sorry, on Friday night it was because it was round 2. So I'm sure most people know, but on hole 5, Bryson hits it way right. He has to hit a provisional too. It's a drivable par 4. He's in the tall stuff. He has a great round, puts himself, I think he's in second place, maybe a shot back at that point. Well, the RNA brings him out there after the fact, tells him, hey, you're going to get assessed a 2-stroke penalty for essentially building your lie. He ends up taking him out onto the course, trying to fight his side of the story. Very animated, ends up threatening to not play the rest of the event. Basically, keeps everybody on pins and needles. We don't know what the scores are. We don't have tee times yet for, all of Friday night, basically. Until they finally do stick by it. The RNA does stroke him the 2 shots, and he did end up playing. But I think the most important thing to talk about is sort of the discourse that happened around this. But before we get to that, I guess, how much of this have you seen? Like, do you have an actual opinion on if he should have been stroked or not?
Yeah, so at this point, like, I've seen the video, and I've seen videos of other people doing similar things to what he got stroked for.
Yeah.
And to that, I would say, if you're going to stroke him, kind of have to stroke other people that did the same things, right? And I think their biggest issue was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was him getting kind of behind his ball and like, kind of stepping around the backside of his ball and stuff like that. That was the big issue, right? Now, they also said he was kind of lifting up his feet, which I'm like, anybody that's walked in heather, everybody does that, right?
What
like,
you do, yeah.
Yeah, like, for a multitude of reasons, right? So I would say, I think for the fact that he was like, there were so many people in the heather over the weekend, that he's the only one that gets stroked for that, I'd find that hard to believe. Like, that's where I'm like, I would find it hard to believe that, like, I would agree that he might have been targeted. But, like, I mean, if they say it is what it is, like, I think it was kind of a sham one just because they didn't call it on anybody else. And there's probably 3 or 4 videos of well-named people that I saw kind of doing something similar to what he did, and they got nothing, right? So that's what makes it, I think, a little dubious, I guess, would be the best word for that.
Yeah, I think the tough part, and I'm a well-documented Bryson hater. I do not really enjoy him almost much at all, to be honest. I do appreciate the content factory that he is in terms of when he's involved in events, stuff happens and like this, and it gives us plenty to talk about. So, I appreciate that side of it. Based on the video that I saw, which if you watch the replays and the stuff that NBC put out there, even when they covered it live, they didn't have sort of the pre-footage of what he was doing. They kind of got in there late after maybe he had already done whatever he did. But like, if you just watch what he does in that video they do have, I don't see anything wrong with what he did.
No.
Nothing out of the ordinary, normal footsteps around the ball. He even like made a point of like taking his practice strokes away from where the ball was.
Yeah.
Like, all of it looked totally fine to me. Did something happen before that video? I have no idea. But then so I from what I saw, I don't think he should have been penalized, but that doesn't mean that something didn't happen. I can't confirm or deny that.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the rule is not based on intent. Like, whether you mean to or not, if you build your lie or do something like that, it's a penalty. So I get that part of it too. The reaction after the fact, I think, is more in line with kind of what we're talking about. A lot of the players I saw interviewed said a lot of what you just said a lot of what I just said. Many of them stood up for him and said, like, I think Scottie's quote was sort of like Bryson's a lot of things, but he's not a cheater kind of thing. So you had guys like that standing up for him. Russ Henley had a comment similar to what you just said, where, a lot of guys are on TV. Like there are guys like Bryson who every shot of theirs is on TV.
Yeah.
And there's 150 players in this field. And, he was like, if I did something like that, there's probably a pretty good chance that like it wouldn't even be an issue because it would never have been seen.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it too, which is tough when you're, a name player. What I did find interesting and something that, one of our longtime listeners, shout out to John, did write in about was Rory's reaction to this, which was pretty blunt. John wrote in and said, Rory's officially lost my support. He's a crybaby when things don't go his way, and to run over Bryson with his comments is classless. I used to be a fan of his, but this takes the cake for me. I know Bryson isn't everyone's cup of tea, but he brings more excitement to the game of golf than Rory ever will. So, anybody that didn't hear what Rory had to say, he basically said, yeah, it's a penalty. Felt like it was obvious. He then went on to say, basically, he felt like a lot of what Bryson does is more for the show and for attention. And, he even point blank said, like, I'm not very fond of the guy. I found it interesting that, his best friend, Shane Lowry, also had similar comments, felt the same way.
Shocking.
It feels like there's a little bit of a, the only other European I saw interview was John Rahm, and he basically just kind of was like, the only video I saw was the head-on video everybody else saw, and he was like, I don't think he did anything wrong. So, I don't know. There's a lot here, a lot of politics involved, a lot of interpersonal stuff involved. I appreciate what John's saying. I'm a big Rory fan, and that's admitted. I think he went too far. It was like an unnecessary drive-by in a lot of ways. You can think it's a penalty, but you don't have to absolutely like detonate the guy in the process.
And here's what I would say about that is like knowing and hearing enough stories about not just over there, but like rules officials in general, right? PGA Tour ones. If you're a bigger name or like let's just put it this way. I shouldn't say this. They don't leave the personal feelings out of certain stuff, right? Like bigger names get favorable, slash like they're not, so that is a thing, right? Like I've heard enough stories from professional events on PGA Tour and stuff like, and he's such a big name. Like would not shock me if that like there's a official out there that does not like him, right?
No.
Like, but here's the thing too, is like, as an official, when you're being paid to be out there, can't really let personal feelings get in the way of like enforcing the rules. And it's like, it's rich coming from Rory because it's like, okay, yeah, you're finally playing underneath your home, like where you're liked and your home, golf association essentially.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, he probably knows all the officials, right? Like he's not trying to piss anybody off because there's going to come a time in an open or an event over there where he might need, he doesn't want to like piss that dude off and then like, and be like, well, yeah, that might have been bull crap. And then it's like, but he probably gets favorable rulings and stuff like that too. So, I think it's easy to say in the position that he's in is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there is something too, sort of like you just said, his home golf association, like there's probably an element of like standing up for the RNA or kind of like walking the company line, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
That I think is definitely part of this and why you kind of saw, Shane and Rory on one side. And then a lot of the American players were a lot more, lenient on their take of the situation too. So yeah, it's a tough one. Without seeing the other part of what happened there, it's, from where we sit, it's just tough to really make a call. But from what I saw, it did not look like a penalty to me.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Yep. Okay, the other one other ruling situation, not as prominent or anything like that, but did you see the whole Scottie TIO situation on Sunday?
It's tough.
Yeah, so anybody that doesn't know, it's on hole 17. He hits his drive. I think he was either in a bunker or the native area, and he hits his second shot just mega left into like hospitality area, or like honestly, it was like rough behind hospitality, which TIO, temporary movable object, relief comes into play. The problem that I have with it is I guess there's some level of rule where like as long as you can like somewhat verify that your ball went in there, you're entitled to that relief. Most times we see this, the guy gets the ball and then is able to go ahead and figure out what the relief, and it's always an egregious relief from TIO. We all know that.
Yeah.
But the fact that he basically like called off the search for his golf ball, like he told everyone, do not find this golf ball because he knows the rule, and he essentially was able to drop it like 50 yards back from where it was, clear line of sight to the hole, ends up making a birdie. Didn't matter for the scope of the tournament and the end of things, but like that should be a lost ball in my opinion.
Yeah,
if you cannot find your golf ball, you do not get relief.
Yeah, that's where I have a problem with it. I mean, TIO is what it is, right? That's never going to change. There's objects out on this golf course that are not normally there. You can't move them, right? So it's like, I get it. And it's stupid, but I get it. But they have to have infrastructure for these golf tournaments, right? However, if you cannot find your golf ball after hitting into one, like that should be like, it's lost, dude. Like it's lost, right? Now, I guess the only outside perspective that I have from this rule is if fans know that, and let's just say it's someone you don't like or you maybe don't have a bet on, and a ball comes into a hospitality tent, you're going to be like, well, the rule is if they don't find it, that's a lost ball.
Sure.
And someone picks it up and plops it in their pocket. So I understand for a little bit on how that rule makes a little sense. But to me, if they're saying like, well, we think it went in this rough behind it, and then you can't find it, that's a lost ball, right?
Right.
Now, if you're like, it went in here, we know it's in these stands here, but like we have video footage of it going into these stands and maybe it went down underneath it or something like that. That's one thing. But like the fact that they kind of thought it was like past it and like in rough past it and even and then you don't find it, like that to me is like that's a lost ball, right?
Yeah.
Like because here's the other thing, right? If let's just say there's an object here, right, and it goes over that, but like over that is out of bounds, it would be out of bounds,
right?
Am I wrong? Like
no.
So like there's all the time, like there's fences, right? You hit it over a fence. Let's just say it, like it's on the fence is in the golf course, right? And you hit it over that fence and then it goes out of bounds. It wouldn't, and let's just say the fence is TIO relief, right? Well, if you hit it over that fence and you know it went out of bounds, you wouldn't be like, well, it's somewhere past this fence, so I would get TIO from this fence, right? Not how that works. So that's where I'm just like, tough ruling, especially for the TIO haters. It's tough to see. Like, and I hate TIO. I get why it's there, but it's like the drops they get off of these, and like there's moments where dudes are just aiming into them, like that's wild.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, kind of like the backstopping off of grandstands, you see that a lot where it's like trouble short, so guys take the longer club and just bang it off the grandstands. That happens all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, this one just stunk because I hate the idea of like, no, like I'm gonna call. Do not look for this golf ball anymore. I'm going to take this drop like 60 yards back from where I hit it. Like that part of it is really tough.
Crazy.
I mean, for him to hit like a 260-yard shot and then be able to get that type of relief, like that far away from where the shot ended up is wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not great. It's not great.
No. So that's the fun from the Open Championship. By all accounts, it sounded like, and we talk about like what the kind of typical score we like to see at majors is, like the kind of that 8 to 12. This is 10 under winner. Like, sounds like Birkdale slapped, and I'm sad again that like this is always during the week of the Stampede, and we rarely get to see enough of it. But yeah,
which is crazy. Where given there were 362s, right? It's crazy to think that there were 362s and. The final score was where it was at. That's shocking. So
yeah, I mean, we kind of saw it both. Like that's kind of how the Open works with the waves and stuff. Like, Foxy's round was early on Saturday, then conditions got tough in the afternoon. Same thing with Cam Young. His was a little earlier on Saturday, and course played tougher in the afternoon. So that kind of stuff happens at the Open. But yeah, like you said, to have some low scores out there, but also the winner be 10 under is
kind
I
of
think that's a
shout out to
good
the
sign of a
course,
turn.
honestly. Like that's
Yeah,
yep,
sweet. All right, patio beers time.
yeah, yeah.
You can go
I'll go.
first.
Yeah,
I went first last week.
I will go first this time. Um, as soon as we knew what we were doing, kind of stepping back from the day to day. Again, this is not goodbye, but I guess up to this point, like what has your favorite moment been? Can be from an episode or maybe something we've done. What's been kind of your favorite moment?
God, this makes my question so incredibly lame. This is a great question by you. Man, there's been a lot that's happened in this. Some of it, like, when we were doing the tour stuff a little bit more and, kind of trying to find a lane that way. We made that connection with Jay early on before, when he was just trying to find a bag and he was doing like spot starts for guys and all that. I mean, I think it was like the 7th episode or something like that where we interviewed him. And then, he gets the win with Grayson and we get to have him back on like a year or so later. Like that was a really cool moment. Obviously, the stuff with Grayson, took a different path. And that was, I very specifically remember that day and that Monday doing the show after that when, he passed away. Like, yeah, I thinking about like, what are we going to say tonight? And like, how are we going to do this episode? And I got a lot of messages and a lot of comments from people about how well we handled that and stuff. And, that to me, like that whole arc was like a crazy journey and kind of felt like we were doing something real in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it was. So I think that stands out to me. Honestly, like it sounds stupid, but like, we've been friends for a long time, but like just sitting across from you for an hour and a half every night or every Monday night for 3 years, like it's just really
episodes?
cool. Just
like, I don't even know. I don't even know what episode we're on at this point, but like, yeah, that many episodes.
Yeah. Like it's just been great to like sit down with a good friend and talk for an hour and a half. Yep. Like there'd be no other scenario under which we would just talk this long to one another.
Yeah.
So like you said, a lot of life has happened in there. Like we've had great conversations. Just I've learned stuff from you. Like, I mean, we've had a lot of, parenthood talks and things like that and stuff like that's been really cool. I miss the days of, doing it back in the office and, like sitting across from each other and literally like you'd pull up with it'd either be a cooler or a Kroger bag of beers and, just popping those things and letting it rip.
For those that don't know, before we kind of moved it to Riverside, I don't know, about a year and a half in, maybe 2 years in.
Yeah.
Me and Mitch used to meet at my office at like 9:30 at night across from each other and like do it in person. Wild to think about that at this point, how we could ever do, like we get done with these and I'm like upload, relax, like in bed, relaxing. So I don't even know how we did that when we were doing it, but
I think about the episodes where like, either Turkey Open previews or Stampede, like we'd have Gunth on, we'd have Nick on. We did the best fictional sports character bracket. That episode was a ton of fun.
Yep.
I like you said earlier too, the travel episodes stand out too to me. Is like those are just really cool to dive into and to see. Like 200 something downloads on your St. Andrews trip one. Like that's really cool. Trying to think of any. We went to. We were going back to the J thing. I left out. We went down to the last Barbasol, as it was known, and followed him and Kevin for 18 holes. And like, we would have never done that without doing this podcast probably. So
100%.
Yeah, all that stands out to me. There's probably more. But yeah, that's off the top of my head. What about you?
Yeah. So I'll start with the funny ones first. So the one I vividly remember, and I think we had Nick on for this show, and I want to say it was like a Ryder Cup preview.
Yeah.
Before Italy. And Nick had like asked a question on our patio beer segment. It was like, like if you had to pick somebody you'd want to, I think it was like you had to pick like a music star, right? to like hang out with for the day, you know, who would it be? And I remember saying Justin Timberlake, and you guys just losing your fucking mind about like, really? Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, like, and I gave good reasons, but it was like the looks on your faces when I said it was kind of what was so funny about it. It was like, are you got to be kidding me, right? Like
Yeah.
I was like punking you guys or something. That was a really funny memory.
That was a good one.
You know, the lost episode is now a pretty funny memory. For those that don't know, we did a Masters preview. It was our very first episode. I completely botched it, and it's gone forever. Like, well, we have a copy of it still. It's just got clicking noises in the background. It's
yeah.
It was
I don't know if we've ever told the full story of this, so I'll real quick. So yeah, you left the metronome setting on in GarageBand, which I didn't even know. We didn't know was a thing. Obviously, we're first time doing this, and I spent the better part of 4 days on like some freelancer website.
We paid a freelancer to like edit it.
I paid some dude in like literally like Bangladesh who said he could fix this for me, and I mean, like I had to like take a picture of my face with like my ID, like to prove my identity for this thing, all this stuff. And I was just like at all hours of the day messaging this guy to try to fix our first episode of our free podcast on golf. And it just was not happening. And this thing sounded worse with his editing than it did.
Oh,
with
it sounded way worse. Yeah.
So like I ended up like disputing it and getting my money back. And this dude was pissed at me, by the way, because he was like, you have no idea how long I spent. Like I stayed awake overnight to do this, like all this stuff. It was just
doesn't make it a good job, buddy. Like you didn't do very good. So
yeah, that's that's the backstory on that one. Which is a shame. That I feel like that we both had about 6 shandies during that episode. Yeah. I feel like it was pretty electric.
Yeah, it was. I might have to just go back and listen to it and like suckers, like really. It's gonna be hard to listen to, but I really want to listen to it just to see, like how it went. Like I've never listened to it. Like I listened to bits and pieces to try to when we were trying to figure out if we were actually going to post it or not. But yeah, I've never listened to like most of it, so
that's a good
might
one.
be fun to go back and do that. But that was a funny. That's now a really funny moment. In the time, we were very angry about it and like kind of pissed off. I think another funny moment.
I just thought of 2.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind me jumping in. Gunth calling in with like the fake outrage thing over the 3 Musketeers was an all-time voicemail. I don't know. I can't remember what episode that was. But yeah, so that we gave him a lot of shit for liking 3 Musketeers. He called in. He called us like freaks a bunch of times for not liking 3 Musketeers. And then the funnier part was like we ordered those golf towels from Shoot. I believe his name's Ryan. I can't remember his name exactly. But like when he sent us the towels, in the box was like, "Hey, great show, guys. By the way, 3 Musketeers do stink."
It's like came full circle. Like that. Yeah. That is so funny. I do remember him sending that letter. That little note in the box. That is that's just further proof that 3 Musketeers do stink. So
absolutely.
So that I was gonna say I know there were some funny moments when Gunth got on or been a part of it. The other stuff, Grayson, obviously that episode came to my mind. Like, what we do here is fun, right? Like we come on here for an hour and a half and have a blast, and it's like all fun and games. And like for us to like, oh my God, like we have to pivot and do this, and it's gonna be really hard. And I don't know what to say. We're not professionals. Like I'm not on NBC Sports giving monologues, right? Like you aren't either. Like, so we're not professionals to like try to figure out what to say in that moment was really, really hard. That came to mind. As far as the stuff like outside the podcast, I remember doing some videos on golf courses. Like those were a lot of fun for me to do. On our Instagram, you can go back probably 3 years ago. I put the Titanic music to my match play.
Yeah.
I just got absolutely fucking waxed, and I put the Titanic music. That was really fun. And I think the biggest thing, like we were doing the Turkey Open, but like when we started doing the podcast, like it really took it to another level. And I think that is always gonna, that's always gonna be a part of something we do, right? Like that tournament is like always gonna be a part, but it kind of got like way bigger when we started doing this. It went from like 10 teams to like 30, like so quickly. Right after we started doing this. I think those are like the core memories, like from the first 3.5 years. Obviously the fictional sports thing was so much fun. I took so much crap for my Harry Potter. What did I call? I called Quidditch something. Do you remember what I called it? Or no, what did I say? Something about Harry Potter. Oh no, I named Harry Potter as like an honorable mention. That's what it was. And I took so much.
No, he made the bracket. I want to say you went as far to say he might have been a generational athlete.
Oh yeah, because I said he was like the Stitch Finder or something like that, and you were like, "That's
the
not."
Seeker.
Yeah. That guy, I couldn't remember what he was actually called. But after naming him in the bracket, so. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to do because it was just like, you start going back through movies, you're like, dang, dude, I haven't seen this in forever. So like I ended up watching a lot of movies after we did that, trying to like catch back up on like movies I hadn't seen in a while. So, and it will never not be funny. Just your lack of movie knowledge is just so underwhelming for how smart you are. So
yeah. I'm kind of scrolling through the episodes just to kind of see if anything jogs my brain. There was an episode we did about all the hills you would die on, which is always a good. That was the thing.
There might even be 30 more hills since that episode has aired. So
episode 3 was when we found out Aaron Rodgers was being traded to the Jets, and the intro of the episode was like you and the "Oh Rodgers, my Rodgers" thing. So that was great. God, I feel like there's another really good funny moment similar to the gun Three Musketeers thing. I lost it when I was trying to think about it. But yeah, I mean, within this window, the wine situation at Soto for Gunt's birthday happened.
Yeah.
Though we usually reserve that for Mr. Lindner.
No,
which I think has made it into your Twitter bio.
Yeah, so I have Carl Linder sommelier on my Twitter bio ever since that happened.
Yeah, so that's really good. God, dude, I know there's something that I'm missing that I really wanted to mention, but I can't think of what it was.
But what's funny is like I think just overall, like listening to some of our first episodes to now, it's like one, how drastically the show's changed, and honestly just how little we knew what to do back like when we first started doing it. It's pretty drastic change for the better, but like drastically different for sure.
Yeah, and while we're talking about it too, like there's been a number of episodes where either you or I have been out where like you've done solo shows. I've had different, Tyler did an episode with me. I got to do an episode with Pat and Tom. They stepped in and did an episode with us. It was a lot of fun.
I did an episode with my buddy John, my college roommate. Like, that was fun. The solo episodes for someone that likes to actually talk to people was so hard. I love talking, but like even I, as a talker, like would get done with those episodes, like holy crap, I'm like kind of tapped out on talking at this point.
Right.
But I think the cool thing is like, you said it, like when I went to Scotland, came back. But when I was in Scotland, what people don't know is like when I had a caddy, like they got a ball marker and a sticker, like back 9 6-pack sticker. And even before that, like we had listens in other countries. Like I think just people just kind of stumbling across it or whatever. I think we either hit 5 or 6 continents. I think it was 5. But we did have like in that little time period, like a cluster of listens from like Scotland. So I thought that was like kind of cool to see after I went over there and handed out a bunch of stickers and ball markers and stuff. And obviously I always got questions about my hat when I was wearing it over there. Like, what is that? So that was kind of cool, cool moment.
Yeah. So I'm actually looking, that's a good call out. So like I said, we've got about 10,000 downloads. I'm looking at the continent map of where these downloads come from. We have 41 downloads in Oceania. We have 53 in Africa, 107 in South America, 712 in Asia, 577 in Europe. So, granted, 8,000 in North America. So, but that's an additional like 2,000 from around the world. We don't.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that's probably the power of YouTube, because there for a while we were doing YouTube Shorts and stuff, and like, you know, I know, like when I see something new, like I'm like, oh, like I'll click on it, I'll bait into it and like click on the profiles, like, oh, like they have a podcast and I'll click in it and like listen to a couple minutes of it just to see. So I'm like, you know, it's probably a result of that, you know, people finding those shorts or whatever, which is kind of cool. So
yeah, we've got, you know, our number 2 country is Singapore, number 3 is Germany. And in city wise, the top like 7 are kind of localized to, you know, around Ohio and stuff. But there's 188 downloads that have come from Frankfurt am Main in Hesse, Germany. So we might, you know, shout out to our German listener. There's probably one of them that's listening to like every episode. Thank you for listening. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Just nice trip down memory lane there for sure. I wish I could think of that other thing. There was something else that I wanted to mention, but I can't remember it. I guess the last thing I'll mention, I was scrolling through. If you remember the member guest, I think this was 2 years ago. Our infamous Stymies battle.
That actually came up this weekend.
The war of mutual destruction that took place there. That was,
by the way, cost us between the two of us like $110. By the way,
yeah, it's
like, it ended up screwing me over too. Like, even though,
yeah, mutually assured destruction. There was a moment where I was like, I don't know if I can do this episode with them. And we buried the hatchet and went through with it. So that's, you know, that's one of those moments that, you know, that shows how strong our friendship is, I guess.
Oh,
man.
God.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So you know, great question. Makes my question feel very insignificant. Cause I just looked it up coming in here. I don't think we've ever had this discussion. You know, I was thinking about it. It made sense to ask this after today. We talked about the kind of like how the week is a 7-game series, and today felt like a day, definitely down 0-1, but this feels like a Monday where like I've already lost Tuesday because of how this Monday was. You know what I mean?
I'm going to be down 0-2 for sure. I mean, you know, because like
could
tomorrow,
get to 0-3.
The way I feel is like tomorrow, like I'm just going to start feeling better. Like I'm still going to be sore. You know, I'm definitely still going to be sore. And I'll be honest with you. I won the long drive competition and the Stampede this year. I don't think I'm going to be partaking in that next year. I think a lot of my soreness came from overswinging like 12 times the night before I was about to play 27 holes. So I don't know if I'm going to partake in that next year. We'll see. Like maybe I only do 3 balls and that's it next year. So, and not like 10 like I did this year. But yeah, like I already feel like the soreness is going to cut into my day tomorrow. Like can kind of make tomorrow miserable too.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I don't think we ever talked about what's your favorite day of the week.
Man, during the summers, Wednesdays are fun. I'm not playing in league this week, but there's something about having that like midday like excitement about getting to go out and play the league and all that. Like in the summers, definitely Wednesdays. But it's really hard to beat a Saturday only because like for 9 or 10 months, it's either college football or college basketball. And I love both of those sports. It's really, really hard to beat Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree. I think Saturday is kind of the odds on favorite for most people. I think if I had I tend to have some counterintuitive takes on these types of things. And I think the dark horse candidate is actually Thursday.
I wouldn't disagree with that, for the record.
Yeah, when I think about just the totality of the year, Thursday is kind of that day where, for whatever reason, I feel like the most like optimistic towards the weekend. The work week's almost over. You've got, I feel sharper on Thursday. Like I feel wittier. I feel sharper on Thursdays for some reason. I don't know why. There's something about a Thursday vibe where it's like you're looking forward to the weekend. Fridays kind of get lost in the shuffle. I know it's a good day because it is the end of the week, but like a lot of times on Fridays, you're either wrapping something up that needs to get done,
and you're just exhausted from the week, right?
Yeah, you're just tired. It's kind of like the bridge day between the week and the weekend. And then, just where we're at in life right now, like a lot of times Saturdays are just busy. Like Saturdays are like the get shit done day that you couldn't get done because of the work week.
Yep.
Your kids have sports events, whatever else you got going on. And then Sunday, in theory, is good, but it also is like, you got to factor in the Sunday scary part of this.
Yeah.
There's usually Sunday is like, get ready for the next weekday. You're doing laundry and dishes and all, so it kind of eliminates it for me. The only obviously benefit is, Sundays you get NFL football for, 20 weeks or whatever. But yeah, I'd like to throw a vote for Thursday as a potential.
I don't hate Thursday. No, I agree with that. That's a good solid pick because I know most Thursdays, like I'm in a good mood, pretty productive, right? Like,
yeah,
you're productive because you don't want anything lingering into Friday, into the weekend kind of situation, right? So, I don't hate the Thursday pick.
Thank you.
To me, I think it's got to be like Thursday or Saturday. It has to be one of the picks. Like Wednesday, like I said, is only really a summer thing because it's golf league, right? And it's a good break in the middle of the week. You have golf league, you have something to look forward to. But really, outside of a 4-month window, it kind of stinks. Like Wednesdays are not very good.
The runaway loser is Tuesday, right?
Oh yeah. It's out on an island. Like it's not like the guaranteed crappy Monday, but it's like there's nothing good that happens on Tuesdays. So
no, and Monday is like there's something about Monday where it's kind of like you're kind of easing in. You got I think on Monday I think of like coffee and like reorienting myself to the work week.
Yep. Yeah.
And then Tuesday is like the day where it's like you got to grind.
Yep.
That's like when you're like, okay, no more. You're not coming off the weekend anymore. You're in it.
Yep.
You got to grind Tuesday. So
yep.
Yeah, I think Tuesday is a clear loser for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Man. All right. Well, yeah, there we go. Hour and a half. We're going to call it here, I think.
Yeah. I've got some stuff to get done before the kids get back in town. So we got some work to do over the next 24 hours.
You've got, one more day of the bachelor life, but really, like you just said, I'm sure that's going to involve a lot of cleaning up what you've done over the last
not a ton of cleaning, but just like the small stuff that the wife appreciates when she comes back, right? Like,
I meant that figuratively too.
Yeah.
not literally.
Yeah. Like getting some rest in that I know is going to be inevitably ended here soon. So yeah, for sure. Got some work to do over the next 24 hours.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you all for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show. Follow us on social media at Back9Sixpack, and be sure to send us in some fan mail. The link is down in the show description. And until next time, cheers.
See ya. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Back9Sixpack. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Back9Sixpack for all your content needs. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.